straight away go and introduce. I've had the pleasure and I've been given a very difficult job. Okay, why it's a difficult job, I must tell you. When I received their bios and their profiles, please understand they have spent an entire lifetime in building institutions. So right from, if I would just start narrating their biography and the kind of work that they've done, I would take away half the webinar. So I don't have that leeway. So therefore, I'm requesting. All right, and we have our moderator for the evening, Mr. Senthil Kumar. First, I'll start with Dr. Sandeep Sancheti here. We have Dr. Sandeep Sancheti. Good evening, sir. Welcome.
Good evening.
Dr. Sandeep Sancheti is known as the institutional builder. He holds a PhD from Queen's University of Belfast, UK, and an MSc Engineering from DTU Delhi and a BTech from NIT Warangal. He is currently the Vice Chancellor SRM IST Chennai and also the past president of AIU, that's Association of Indian Universities. Formerly, he was also the president of Manipal University, Jaipur, director NIT Delhi, and director NIT K. Surathkal. And he has also, served as director in charge at a lot of NITs. He's a member of Council, Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, chairman, board of governors for MLV. Then he's also serving different professional bodies like SPIC-MACAY, FICCI, CII, EPSC, and then also at the national level bodies of UGC, AICT, AIU. We welcome you, sir. Thank you so much for giving us your precious time.
Thank you for this opportunity. Good evening to everyone.
Thank you. I'll move to Ms. Nandita Ibrahim here. I'm sorry, it had to be ladies first, but I went to the seniority. Seniority-wise, I should go to Dr. Sunil Rai, but
no, you are right. You are right.
With over 25 years of dynamic experience across corporates and academia, Ms. Nandita joined Pearl Academy in 2001 as a faculty member. Over the years, she's worked successfully at various positions within the academy, from being a faculty to heading corporate relations and marketing departments. In her earlier role as executive vice president, she's integrating industry with the classroom. She has also driven multiple initiatives and has championed the pedagogy enhancement and student learning initiatives. She's also the executive committee of IIFTI, International Foundation of Fashion Technology Institutes, and the FICCI Higher Education Committee. She's been a member of the CII National Committee of Design. She is also invited to give lectures at University of Delaware, US, London College of Fashion, and Philadelphia University. Welcome, Ms. Ibrahim.
Thank you.
Now I move to another stalwart, Dr. Sunil Rai. He's the Vice Chancellor of University of Petroleum and Energy Studies, UPS, a veteran academician. He has a vast experience of 42 years with 20 years in academics, 21 years with the Indian Navy, and 2 years in the corporate world. Prior to joining UPS, he was the Vice Chancellor of MIT Arts Design and Technology University, Pune, and Director on Board of Maharashtra IT Corporation, Government of Maharashtra. Dr. Rai also holds a PhD in Business Continuity Management from BITS Pilani, MTech in Computer Science and Engineering from IIT Mumbai, and an MBA with HR specialization from IGNOU. He also holds a Master in Marine Engineering from Naval College of Engineering, INS Shivaji Lonavala, and a BSc Honours degree from Jawaharlal Nehru University. He's been a proven thought leader and a public speaker on a lot of international conferences. We welcome you, Dr. Sunil Rai. If before I move on to our dear moderator, Mr. Senthil Kumar, I must tell you that there are three esteemed panelists. And if you look at the degrees, it seems as if there are 20, 30 people attending this. All right. Thank you so much. Moving on to our moderator of the evening, Mr. Senthil Kumar. He's the Director of Business Development and International Sales, mission-oriented, adept at strategic negotiation, sales, and business planning. Senthil's work canvasses about 20 years. In his current role, his responsibilities comprise business development for UPS and Pearl Academy, including strategy, planning, and execution. He's also responsible for international sales for UPS, handling key relationships. He's also a strategic contributor on innovative strategy for business implementation. One last thing about Senthil, my friend, he has been instrumental in spreading legal education awareness in India, also featured in ISP IDEVA for helping the brand to cult. He was piloting, planning, and implementation of the All India Bar Examination in India. He's also received recognition for Governor of UP and Governor of Goa for contribution in higher education. I once again thanks to all of you for taking time out to help us understand and decipher national education policy and its impact on higher education. Senthil, over to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Parikshit, for a beautiful introduction of each and every panel members here, and to take my job easy here. Before going to the panelists and asking them a round of questions, I want to set the context right. Education policies, India has seen several education policy, right from University Education Commission to National Education Policy. India has seen the first National Education Policy in 1968, and the second one is first one is in 1968 and second one is in 1986. This is one of the much awaited NEP, National Education Policy of 2020. It's a very well consultation process across, right from Grand Panchayat, block levels and district levels. And this is one of the much sought after and looked after. Earlier two national education policies have set tone for access in education. This NEP is going to focus on reforms in education. So that's the way it's looked like, and very visionary, setting out a benchmark for 50% of GER by 2035 and 6% of GDP, and it's going to be real new transformation. It's just waiting in the block. So today, the format of this discussion is going to be of twofold. One, I have prepared certain questions which I'm going to ask the eminent panelists. Apart from that, I'm going to open the house for questions. Please make sure all your questions are coming under the Q&A section so that I don't miss any, and ask this panelist to address those queries. I know that it's a very important and great evening. I can see so many participants coming from school educators, primarily from senior management of the schools, school counselors, parents, students, and it's going to be a great interaction, and I'm going to assure you this. Without any further delay, let me straight away get to the questions which I'm going to ask for the panelists. The first and foremost, let me give you the overview. I want to ask about the overview with each and every panel member here. So what is the impact on NEP on prospective students? So how it's going to be impactful? So I'll start with Dr. Sunil Rai to share his overview for 2 minutes, then followed by Dr. Sandeep Sancheti, and followed by Nandita. Once this overview is over, then I will go with my questions. But to keep it very clear, we want to have more question answers from the parents and students and the educators to come in. So we'll keep as brief as possible. Over to you, Dr. Rai.
Thank you, Senthil. Just to check that my voice is okay. Great. All right. So I think this NEP 2020 is a very welcome document. As you rightly said, that we were, as a nation, were waiting for it. And I will talk of three things. You asked how does it impact the students? And so from that perspective, the first thing that it does is that it provides students an opportunity to develop themselves in a wholesome manner. Dr. Sancheti had been the president of AIU. We used to discuss these things over most of the meetings that we used to attend, is that going forward, and this COVID has anyway proven that one thing is certain, that everything is going to be uncertain. The jobs that are there today will not be there. Previously, in 80s, if there was a job defined, it could exist for about 20 years. It came down to 10 years, 5 years. And today we are seeing a situation when the industries will change, geopolitical situations will change, the industry manufacturing landscape will change, the distribution of wealth will change, and therefore the expectations and couple it with automation and the advances of technology, things are going to change. So I think the students have to be prepared for life. I mean, they cannot be prepared for a particular vocation or a particular domain. What exactly would happen, they wouldn't know. And therefore, the inclusion of wide-ranging subjects as are proposed in NEP, from fine arts to painting to music, all these things make you think differently and look at a context as a whole rather than seeing it in parts. I'm not underplaying anything to do with science, being an engineer myself, but this inclusion of these kind of subjects like creativity, sensibility, innovations, entrepreneurship, you need to create your own world. So I think the first one is it's going to prepare students for life. We had been talking about it. Now it has got a stamp from the NEP, and therefore now it becomes almost like a mandate to all of us to make these things available to students. That's number one. So it will prepare you, dear friends, for life, and that's what the nation and the society is looking forward from you. The second aspect of NEP, which is very, very conspicuous, is about what we are calling it uh, in colloquial terms, the credit bank. So a student has got now a freedom. You did your first year, and for some reasons you're not able to continue. You walk out with a certificate. You do 2 years, you walk out with a diploma, and then 3 years you get an advanced postgraduate diploma, and if 4 years you do, you get a degree. Now, in a myopic view, many people are thinking that there's a smart way of saying that our dropouts rate have dropped. I mean, I would like to look at it that government has not got to prove any of their, they don't have to get any certificate from anybody. It's about nation building. Now look at the kind of freedom which the students get. There is a student from somewhere in Northeast, unable to travel to Delhi because of various conditions. First 2 years the student does there in Northeast. By the time the student has come to third year, picked up the necessary communication skills, the necessary other skills of technology, and now also the family is able to afford. 4 years they could not afford, 2 years they can afford. The student comes to Delhi and joins third year in one of the select colleges where the credits are accepted, does his third year, takes an advanced diploma, goes start working somewhere, gets an exposure, come back, completes the degree, and makes life. So this has given the students a complete freedom. And what has it also done is that it has brought in the vocational components, the respect to the vocational components as much as the degree components. So that is also getting included, and which is what we were lacking. So I think the second aspect about this academic credit bank, as somebody like to calls it, or about this vocational now being given the due respect. We had been talking about it for the last 20 years in our FICCI and CII meetings, that please respect the skills. What India lacks is skills. And my colleague Nandita has been doing that for, and see, if you have skills, you don't need degrees. Our students don't need degrees because they have the skills, they can win the world. So I think this importance to skills is the second aspect which the NEP is promising. And the third one is the emphasis on research and teacher education. Very welcome step. And the NRF being created, of course, I would like to now pray, I hope and pray that the implementation is in the same spirit as this document has been is spelling it out. No distinction. And Sanchiti sir and myself, we had been talking about it. No discrimination between private and public. Public-private partnership, please emphasize on partnership. Forget the word public and private, and this NRF should be, of course, you deserve it, you get it. So I think these three things about the whole complete education for students, creating wholesome personalities. Second one is about the freedom for them to learn what they learn, when they learn, in keeping with their own social compulsions. And third one is the focus on research and faculty development. Very welcome things in NEP 2020. My 5 pence.
Thank you, Dr. Sunil. Dr. Sancheti, over to you for your overview on the impact.
Thank you, Dr. Senthil. And I think Professor Rai has covered most of the ground by sharing his views, which all of us concur with. But all of us also have some favorite aspects, and therefore I'm going to share certain things which I like it most possibly. But in general, I would say that this is a policy which is something like a dream come true, in the sense that it is very well accepted. Till now, whatever I have read in terms of media reports or other messages or discussions, that it's been received very positively. some odd aspect would not be perfect and cannot be perfected in any document of this nature, which is such a broad-ranging document. And it has come after such an effort that it's unbelievable. At a point of time last year, when more than 2 lakh inputs were sent, and people like me had also sent 4 or 5 of them with voluminous reports and data and details, it's difficult to digest. And I was fearing that once again, we are going to lose track like our 4 other such committees which were there under Hari Gautam or Yashpal or various other things which were there, Subramaniam committee, everything was there. But fortunately, it has seen the light of the day, and it's very, very well received. For me, this policy would be titled as a student-centric policy. Till now, the teaching learning was either institutional centric or the regulatory framework centric, or maybe teacher centric at the best in terms of centricity. But now this is going to be the student centric. That means we will not teach what we want to teach, and the students will learn what they want to learn. I think that is a phase shift, 180-degree phase shift, I would say. The customers will take the call and decide the fate of it, and that's a very good step. Or if I explained it in academic terms, rather simply, I would possibly say that we were having an intent of covering the syllabus, and by covering, we will give them examination, by that we'll give them degree. Now the intent will be uncovering the potential of the subject, whether they take degree or diploma or skill, doesn't matter, as long as they learn and they are excited. So it's a little bit of excitement, I would say, which is there. People are going gaga about it in terms of what they can do. And the excitement now is shifting. How would it be implemented? When would we start doing certain things? Some mails have started coming in. People and students asking what can be done under this, when will I make the choice and all that. So I think in a way it's good. In Hindi, we call it Der Aaye Durust Aaye. It has come after 34 years, doesn't matter, but it is fine. It's very acceptable to us. As has been said, I would say that there are many, many important aspects which have been covered. One, ease of regulation or regulatory framework is a very good thing. I wish even the medical councils and the law BCIs were also covered under that, but as of now, they are probably excluded. But all other major ones, maybe architecture, maybe engineering, maybe general education, maybe pharmacy, everything is getting covered under this. Why it is important is education is something like a vehicle for rest of your life for any young person. And if that vehicle is being steered by 15 people or 15 horses in different direction, I think you will get confused and the vehicle will go nowhere. And that was the position in certain cases, that we were to divide our libraries into 5 different libraries because of 5 different councils, same with hostels and playgrounds. I think those will vanish. So that's something very, very good. Very good targets of GER and budget. I need not explain them. I'm not necessarily an expert on that. Very good that you said that the previous policies were focusing on access and equity. But in my opinion, the new policy is now focusing on speed, efficiency, and diversity. And these are the barometers or the parameters, you can say, which will drive what you call quality. And quality is what we are looking at. And the rest called ranking, rating, acceptability, internationalization would follow. But there has been given, there is a clear direction for internationalization also. Though the bill has not come, but indirectly through this policy, we have been given a framework that the internationalization can proceed very, very nicely. Once again, distance, virtual, and online. These are all kind of bad words, not yet fully cleaned up, not yet fully acceptable, but still the policy gives them a thumbs up kind of a thing, saying that online can be accepted. Even talking about virtual laboratories, the skills, I think there is a dedicated statement and an element in the policy about virtual labs, and therefore that also speaks volumes about the points which are there. But I'll close it with my favorite, the ABC of NEP, the Academic Bank Credit. It was earlier called as National Academic Credit Bank. Fortunately, I've been working on that scheme for last year and a half as a core team member, and I have developed much of it through various supports and various committees of the UGC. And by the way, the day the policy was getting declared and the press conference was happening, we were also in the meeting with the UGC team finalizing the nitty-gritties of that in terms of implementation by bringing out the regulatory thing. The rest of the things are done, but the regulation which UGC will pronounce was being discussed by us. So hopefully in next 2 months, it will come. And with that, it will change the entire course of higher education space in the country. That is my expectation. And therefore, it's a big, big step forward for all of us is what I think through this NEP 2020. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sanjay. Over to you, Nandita.
Thank you, Senthil. What I really want to say, and this is for students, the parents, teachers, that the world around us has changed. And so to be successful, we have to change. The skills our students need to learn to be employable and productive also have to change. So today it's no longer enough to stick to one discipline. To study deep and narrow is not enough because the world is not deep and narrow. And we can see today more than ever before that the world is so connected and every action in one area spurs a set of reactions in another. So really to solve today's problems and to make the most of today's opportunities, we need to learn to look at the world differently. And that is what this policy is allowing us to do. For some time now, we have seen that skills like creativity, critical thinking, complex problem solving have become more and more important. But these skills are very difficult to deliver in the existing education system, except maybe in liberal education and in design. The national education policy lays emphasis on the development of the creative potential of each individual in all its richness and complexity. So I am very excited. The NEP is very exciting, and I would love to have been a student at this stage. It envisions a complete overhaul and re-energizing of the entire system. Some of my favorite points in the NEP are, one is the de-siloizing or the multidisciplinary learning. Second is the focus on 21st century skills. The bringing into conversation of creativity, design thinking, logical decision making, innovation, flexible curriculum, choice-based curriculum. And I also have a special liking for the early childhood care and education, that is foundational literacy and numeracy. I think that if we're able to implement it, will go a really long way.
Thank you, Nandita. Amazing points, amazing insights. So let me also ask about the institutional preparedness. What institution need to align or realign? So I'm going to start with you, Nandita. If you can touch upon how this is going to empower students through course choices, experiential learning. So if we can touch upon these points, it would be great.
Sure. Like I said, Senthil, in the areas of design, already multidisciplinary learning, experiential learning, these are all very important parts or ways to learn to be successful. And where I see the changes that are required for an institution, one is, of course, looking at the curriculum, looking at the outcomes, and whether the outcomes are just based on knowledge that's put in, but really what it is that they're going to be able to do when they come out or when they finish from there. Second and most important, I feel, is faculty development. Because we have very great minds have sat together, including Professor Sandeep Sancheti, and come up with this amazing vision. But how are faculty going to be able to really put this together, deliver it without it being something that is top down? Because like we said, it's all about experiencing, it's all about learning. It's about being able to fulfill the requirements or being able to achieve your own outcome. If you talk about multidisciplinary, each student may be making different choices in the curriculum. I have heard in the UPS curriculum, they have now put in many more new choices. So every student is going to be different. So how does a faculty member deal with that? Faculty are used to teaching their subject. Today, knowledge is available online. Now we've seen it for sure. that knowledge is available. So what is the role of the faculty member and how can we actually make that happen? The third thing I want to say is about engaging with the industry. And that is again something that we do very strongly. I love the fact that industry and internships have come into the NEP. And there are many universities and colleges that do that, but it's going to become more and more important for the institution to be prepared with a solid team that's going to lead this, because we can't just say that, oh, it's the government's responsibility to get our students internships. We have to take that responsibility ourselves.
As thank you, Nandita, for your good insights. Earlier, Dr. Sancheti was talking about first time we have created a policy, a student-centric policy, and the student is on the driving seat. So, can you, Dr. Sancheti, throw us some light on sharing few points on reintroducing the 4-year program, then establishing a systematic and a diligent evaluation, because everything is going to change in the structure. So if you can throw some light on this, that would be a good help.
Okay, I think this 3-year, 4-year aspect is something very interesting, and there are a lot of comments on this because there was a point of time when it was introduced with fan and fair in DU by Dinesh ji, but then later pushed out for whatever other reasons. The fight was between the non-entities as far as that 3-year or 4-year was concerned. The students were not consulted. They were not involved heavily into it. It was between others. So fortunately, it has gone. I have been educated outside India also. So I can say that I've seen that a lot of liberties given to the students. While I'm studying, and suddenly I have an interest towards, let's say, trekking, going for Himalayas and trying to do something and rejuvenate myself, charge myself with something. Here in India, if I take a break, I'll lose all my previous years of study, because I'll be kind of a student will be thrown out of the system. If I say it simply, our education system was like a pipe. Here you enter, and after 3 years, you will exit. If you can't make an exit, you are dead. You don't get any degree, diploma, certificate, anything, and you don't get transferred to anything else also. Now this student-centric will be a leaky pipe. You can enter here at 0th year, but you can get out wherever you want, whenever you want, and you can change the direction 360 degree, by the way. Okay, if this is fuller pipe, you can change it to 360 degrees. And that is a liberty that I can enter into engineering. And after a year, I'm not satisfied or whatever, because I was forced by my parents. I can go to the management side. And then finally, I realized after 1 or 2 years that no, my interest was lying somewhere in arts or creative arts or whatever it may be, performing arts. I can still go without much of loss. I think that is the beauty it gives to you. So 3-year or 4-year, obviously the recognition will be different. If someone has spent more time, I must tell you that in the UK, there are engineering degrees which are both 3 years or 4 years. And our new scheme is also going to introduce that a 4-year degree of engineering possibly can be done in 3 years. The reduction can be up to the extent of 25%. In the 75% of the time, you can cover your degree if you are a well-performing on a fast track kind of a thing. And if you're a slow mover, you can take 6, 7, 8 years also if you so wish. And for some reason, if there is an emergency in your family that you need to discontinue your studies, once again, the brakes will be put, and then you will go and do whatever you want to do, come back, and again, you can reignite, and everything will be considered again from that point, and you can still earn what you wanted to earn as a degree, etc. So I think that is the beauty it gives you, and that is what we call multiple entry, multiple exit. If you're seen, that word has been coined from that particular scheme only, that why shouldn't we allow that? Because sometimes an industry experience is important, sometimes the need of family is important, sometimes some other force conditions of medical and other things, accidents and some things do happen. And the student should not lose the thing in that particular sense. And by the way, the freedom will possibly go. I'm just contemplating. Don't quote me and don't say that this will be done. But eventually, I may do a potpourri of courses, which may be from commerce, science, arts, whatever, design, everything mixed up. And at the end of the day, I have enough credits, but I don't know which direction I'm going. I may still be a knowledgeable and intelligent person. And you have many examples in the world, who have gone through that kind of an experience and background. I'll not name them, but they should get a degree called Bachelor of Liberal Education. Like we have liberal arts and things like that. There should be a Bachelor of Liberal Education, an education which I deserved, I wanted. I can combine electronics with music, with mathematics. None of them are necessarily very correlated or directly correlated to form a degree, or maybe economics or whatever that may be. I can do that. So I think that is the kind of thing this student centricity is bringing in terms of everything. The best part of it is, most of us in India, we have big dream of going to, let's say, IIT or IIM. Large numbers appear there, or for a medical course or medical college or whatever that may be. If I have not been able to make an entry into, let's say, IIT Madras, which is next door to me, I can still take an odd course through this kind of a freedom, which IIT Madras or any good institution will float. Let's say I'm in an institution where engineering or tech is not much, and it's, let's say, only commerce, but I'm still interested to learn more about AI. And AI is being done, let's say, in IIT Madras. I can take up that course in IIT Madras and still have the experience of IIT Madras and do. Suppose my constraints are there in terms of finances, that I cannot pay the fee which is higher or lower, then I can do a non-residential course, whereas generally IITs want residential course. So I can go for an online version and various other things. So the costing, the timing, the aspects of when to appear in examination, I will have the beauty of appearing in examination on demand. I will go and tell, as it happens in my life, I'll wear a dress which I want to, I'll eat a food which I want to, not even choice of my parents or my kids. And same way, I take the education which I want to. And that is the kind of, you can say, freedom which is going to come. In a way, it's good. It's meant for matured students. It's meant for laggards also, that they go slow, then they have to do something differently. One size fits all will not basically work. But that doesn't mean that the standard options of 3-year or 4-year are going to vanish. No, they are still there. I'm pretty sure 80 to 90% students will still take the same, what we call a crudely thali option, a standard option that, okay, give me everything and I'll enjoy whatever comes my way. But then there will be people who will choose these things, and ultimately it's good for the growth and as well as quality and diversity of the education. That's what I understand from that 3-year or 4-year or anything of that nature. Thank you.
Dr. Rai, on the institutional preparedness, share us how the curriculum are getting revamped. And that is my first set of questions. And secondly, what is the key points students need to keep there in mind while they have a flexibility of exit option in the degree program?
Dr. Rai, you're on mute.
Yeah, I will answer the second one first. Is about what should the students be looking at is, I think the first and foremost thing is about correcting the mindset. It's not only for students, it's for parents, families, society in general. What is important is purpose. It is not the mode. I've done it in distance learning mode, online mode, face-to-face mode. I have done from IIT, I have not done from IIT. After all, everybody born in Ayodhya is not Ram, and everybody born in Lanka, therefore, is not Ravan. It's ultimately, at the end of the day, it's the skills that you acquire, and the world will test you, if you have it in you. So I think it's about you ask that question to yourself as to what is it that I want, what will make me happy really? And then if you pursue that purpose, then as the NEP has given you all the possibilities, because NEP today, fortunately, has brought the face-to-face, the distance learning, online, all degrees at par. I mean, otherwise in this part of the world, face-to-face, online, distance learning, these were the grading, So if you did distance learning, then you will be considered as class 3, So, but the very fact that the NEP has brought these at par, given it the due recognition, has given due recognition to vocational skills and also the other sciences and art. So I think the basic thing the students need to prepare is about the mindset. And at UPS, when we had this particular experience that, we could complete the entire curriculum online by 30th of April, conduct all the exams, including the practicals online. We did not choose that option of promoting people without examination. Now, if we could do all that, it was, of course, it was thanks to the infrastructure that I was blessed to have at my university. 4 years back, they had the vision to invest in that particular infrastructure. And then it was also about my faculty's preparedness. But I think more than that, what did the trick was the acceptability of students and getting into that groove very fast. And also acceptance by the parents. Now, parents actually became our partners in trying to, so I used to actually converse with the parents directly through mails to tell them as to how should the students be taking these online examinations, etc. So I think the students have to prepare themselves to change the mindset and focus on purpose than anything else. And once that happens, NEP has got all the things in the structure. So if that be the case, then I think as institutions, we have to, of course, change our own mindset. It's all possible. It all can be done. Dr. Sancheti mentioned about the virtual labs. Now, this was an issue. We were discussing, Nandita and we used to discuss about when the problem came in, how do students learn these, do the practicals with such a creativity? Now, they can't come to studios here. What Nandita and team did is they took the studios to their house. So we have to be now thinking on the feet. We have to be very, very innovative. My aero engineering department, they knew that, of course, the wind tunnel and all these are very expensive devices for experimentation. What happens in an experimentation? In experimentation, there is one theory. After that, there is an experiment setup. Then there are readings that you got to take out of the experiment. And then you got to draw inferences. These are the 4 steps. Of these 4, 1, 3, and 4 can be done online. Now, how do you do the second one? The conducting the experiment itself. So we said, fine, we will give you a simulation. So we filmed the wind tunnel and we filmed the entire experiment the way it is being done with a voiceover, and the student gets a feeling as if the student is doing the experiment themselves. Now, we as a nation cannot afford to invest in those kind of labs and studios everywhere. It is IITs and NITs which have got privilege of having some very good infrastructure as far as labs are concerned. Now, can these things be substituted, as Dr. Sancheti said, about virtual labs? IIT Delhi has already got a massive program going to create these through using virtual reality and augmented reality. So it's a mindset problem comes again. What people say is, how can you teach somebody this? Well, all pilots are trained on simulators. You can't give a pilot the real life aircraft and ask him to train. I am from the Navy. I know that we used to be trained for navigation using simulators. So if simulators can be used to teach, now I'm understood that simulators are now being used even for the medical science for taking people how to do surgery. So it's all a mindset problem. I think innovation is the word, and there is no block. I think God has given immense potential to this mind. All that we have to take it out is, yes, it can be done. Mode is not important, place is not important. What is important is, I want to learn, I want to become this, come what may. The NEP is supporting you to do it. Please do it. That's what is my take.
Great insights, Dr. Rai. I would request all participants to share the questions which you like to ask the panelists in Q&A session, so that, because the session is getting more interesting as the moment pass by. Please make sure, if you have any questions which you want to ask the panelists, you can put in the Q&A session. Let me get to the systematic changes, and let me get the more highlights on these changes. First time, the regulators, so that the word autonomy has been very well spoken in this national education policy, and higher education administrator are going to get more powers in their hand. There is going to be establishment of one higher education regulatory body, leaving, as Dr. Sancheti said earlier, leaving law and medicine. Everything is going to come in one head. And second, there is a focus for light but a tighter ecosystem. So, Dr. Sanjetti, can you throw some light on how the transformation from rigid and flexible can happen? And you are an administrator and you handle several academic administration in earlier avatars. So, how would you define this?
Yeah, autonomy is a buzzword which every person dreams of in the academic domain. I would say, I on a very lighter side say that if you wake up a vice chancellor in the middle of the night and tell him or her that your wish is going to be true, what would be that wish? The vice chancellor is going to demand only one thing called autonomy. So it's something very, very precious and dear to us. But the point here is a person like me can say that we want to be autonomous and out of regulatory framework. But the real thing is, unless it trickles down to the lowest level, it is not going to work. All right. And we know the word which we have used, student centricity, was that student was never considered in the game plan in general till now. Now it's going there, so it's going to trickle down. If a vice chancellor is getting empowered, the deans and the directors and the HODs and the faculties, and then ultimately the student should also come into that. So lighter but tighter is, I think, is a fancy a way to explain that. It basically says that they will put a structure which will not be too definitive or defining everything at a minute level. They will give you the structure of the body. The flesh will have to be done by yourself, and that's how you will use your powers to define that, okay, I'm offering a 3-year program or a 4-year program, or I'm at the end of 2 years giving the option to the student, whether you go for 3-year or 4-year, I will do that. An integrated program, I can make sure that admission happens right in the beginning, that you are taking integrated program, or maybe in the pre-final or just 2 years before the final, I'll say, okay, do you want an integrated program or dual degree or the choice making? Right now, it is all defined by a third party or a national agency, and now it is going to be defined by us. And therefore, it's very important. I think I'll be very happy to say that till now we are getting orders, or maybe there were directives that you can only cooperate and do MOUs with top 500. Fine, that's very good for India that we can do partnerships with top 500. But if the people sitting in US and UK decide that they can partner only with top 100, then we'll be nowhere, because we'll not be able to partner them because their own regulations will counter us. So I think that those fundamentals which were defined by agencies without thinking about it seriously will now kind of lose its place. I have to partner with people who are below me also to pass on the traits and the value which I have, so that they also come up. Partnership cannot be just one way, that I handhold, don't handhold the people who need me, and I just look at the people who are bigger than me. I think those policies are wrong, and therefore autonomy will decide for us that if I'm in a rural setup, what do I do in that university? If I'm in an urban setup, what do I do with that? If I want to be a skilling university, what I do with that? And therefore, you can say that this autonomy is the self-control, is the self-regulation, and obviously with that, the responsibility also comes to you. And once the two are kind of connected, obviously our role will be different. Till now, what we are doing is, if anything goes wrong, we happily pass on the buck to the governing agencies or bodies, saying that they directed us to do that, or they didn't allow us to do that. I think no, the onus is now on us. The autonomy to us means the onus is on us, that whether we do or die, or whether we kind of succeed or fail, I think it will be decided by our own good work and our own fate of what we are trying to do. That is what the autonomy is about. Autonomy, by the way, is in the 4 or 5 major dimensions. Academic is the one which we are always using to a large extent, but not to the lowest extent in terms of students. But then we have the managerial autonomy, we have the administrative autonomy, and we have the financial autonomy. In Indian context, the most difficult thing is the financial autonomy. Reason being, I cannot raise the fee. In spite of this NEP, the government universities will not be able to raise the fee by even 100 rupees a year, whereas the cost of delivering the education is going by 1,000 rupees a year up in terms of, let's say, some inflation, some cost or something. And with that, we'll be deprived of the money. And if I'm the money giver to you for any reason, it is very, very obvious that I'll rule the roost, I'll control the destiny of what is happening with my money. And therefore, Indian institutions will now have to think about great deal about financial autonomy if they want to excel. They'll have to create corpuses, they'll have to do various other things, fundraising through this, and of course, industrial activities, consultancy, testing projects also. Those things will also come, some endowments here and there. And with that, you can see that the top institutions in the world are doing well. I think that is a right model. And with that kind of a model, even if another COVID comes after 5 years or 10 years, which will affect us for, let's say, 6 to 12 months, we can survive that particular wave. Right now, we are all struggling. You probably know it, I need not explain. All institutions have a struggle, government and private, because we never were profit making. We were never accumulating money for any such difficulty. I think that's also a strong element which we should cover in the autonomy which we are going to get. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Dr. Sunil Rai. So how do you see this, even this education policy is talking about philanthropic partnership as well. So how do you see the balance between the autonomy and the accountability per se?
I think it was so well explained by Dr. Sancheti about the accountability. I think the autonomy, before autonomy is the accountability. You know, the accountability has to come in first. You know, it's easy to slam the regulators. Frankly speaking, most of the things that we are talking about, it's not that they were not available in the regulations. I mean, this thing about your full freedom for you to go and collaborate with anybody or to offer the programs that you want to offer. These were there, but these were with a condition which are still the same. You know, if your NAAC score was this, then you have got this kind of autonomy. If your NAAC score was such, you got the complete autonomy, and you become institution of eminence, you got a full autonomy. I mean, you can do whatever you want. But this, I think, all these structures came in because of somebody understood the accountability part much better. So accountability will come in only from the aspect of purpose driven. You know, if you know exactly, if that question is asked as to what is it that I am bringing on the table for the society, and I strictly follow that. Now, as at UPS, by way of example, as at UPS, when all this thing used to during the COVID time, when we started working from home, actually the correct term would have been now doubly working from home, because at least in face-to-face mode, the timings were 9 to 5. When we started working from home, there was a starting time, there was no ending time. But the good part was that when we used to deliberate, we used to discuss, and these things came out, and then they took birth was what we have got a school of life. Now, because we are sticking our neck out and saying that we will prepare the students for life. And if that autonomy we need, that we want to prepare, we have to prepare ourselves well. You know, traditionally, we have learned how to teach physics, chemistry, sciences, engineering, languages very well. Now, Dandita talked about creativity. Fortunately, at Pearl, we know how to deal with that. How many institutions can teach creativity? Actually, creativity cannot be taught. It has to be nurtured. Similarly, the things like entrepreneurship, you know, the things like innovation, these things are being talked about as a fashionable words. So we have created a structure. I think the first and foremost thing when you want to become autonomous is you have to actually plan this autonomy. So we have planned a complete structure that, okay, the purpose is that we will create learners for life. For that, these components will be absolutely necessary. These components will actually add on to that. For example, so we have life skill courses, which will actually prepare you for life. I mean, one simple life skill course is how to deal with data. Tomorrow, these students, all of them, whatever they do in life, they will be confronted with huge amount of data. Now, one is to have data, other is what to do with their data. So how to deal with these kind of situations? How do you brand yourself? Now, this branding is not for money. Branding is how do you sell your proposition? Now, these are something becoming basic items. So there are life skills. Then there are signature courses, which is like creativity, entrepreneurship. critical thinking. And then there is multidisciplinary courses. So we have clearly now, and thanks to my deans and other people, we have clearly divided that this will be done as life skills, this will be done as signature courses, this will be done as multidisciplinary courses. We have put credit structure to it. We have put proper structure to it with the established system which the university system has taught us about defining the program objective, the COs, and then linking them to program outcomes and giving it a proper structure. And one thing was mentioned was about the evaluations. Now it's how do you evaluate something which you actually not figured out how to teach? So then how do you evaluate these people? Now it's the NEP is talking about not formative, not summative assessment, but formative assessment. You are not trying to check how much that fellow has crammed. You are trying to check as to whether this fellow can do this or not in change situation. So I think this autonomy is good. What is being talked about, I think the affiliations are gradually, the plan is to finish these affiliations, and most of the affiliating universities may not have liked it, but this is something which is the need of the hour. It has worked well in the West. So for that autonomy, the first thing is accountability. For accountability, it's very important to plan with purpose and execute with resilience.
Thank you, Dr. Rai. Nandita, the question is for you. So how the systematic changes in the institution will allow to plug in internship, and plus secondly, how you see this confluence of education and skill coming together?
So one is that I'm really happy to see the word skill and vocation coming into the discussion, because employability is something that is really important. One is to be employable and get a job, but the other is also to create employment. So like we talked about entrepreneurship. And in order for these skills to be there in our students, that engagement with the industry is extremely important. At Pearl, we have what we call an octopus setting. So at 8 different stages, the industry is engaged with us. So all the way from curriculum development, hiring of faculty members, giving live projects to students who are there, internships. So we have one internship in the middle of the course and another long project internship at the end of the course. These are already built inside the curriculum and at different stages. So for example, when you are an early learner, you can get a project from the industry, but you can do it in a safe environment at college. So there you have faculty or faculty mentors to help you fulfill the requirements of that project. As you become a more advanced learner, then you go out into the industry and do that internship. So you're in a complex situation and you got to learn how to solve problems, deal with people, deal with the politics and everything else that there is over there, and do it. So internship is something internship or engagement with the industry is something that is critical. It has actually always been in our system, and probably in a lot of design and creative education, internships and industry engagement is a very important part of it, because it also gives the student an opportunity. When you're talking about multidisciplinary, it gives the student an opportunity to make some choices. So they really understand when they go into the industry that as a design student, you'll have to work with somebody in manufacturing, somebody in marketing. You'll have to understand what the person on the shop floor is talking about. And therefore, when you come back to class, you're more open to having these multidisciplinary experiences. I think it's really important.
Thanks, Nandita. Let me quickly jump to the Q&As because the questions are jumping in and there are big lines of questions. First, to start with, this is one of the most sought after question. When will this NEP get fully implemented? So, who would like to take this question? Dr. Sancheti, Dr. Sunil Rai, when will this get fully implemented?
Difficult to say that, and it's a very big framework. So there's not going to be a single point where you can say it has been implemented or it is yet to be implemented. It's going to be a gradual implementation. If the previous policy lasted 34 years, whether we liked or not, it lasted 34 years. I presume this policy can last 5 to 10 years easily, and typically maybe 15 to 20 years. And with that, a lot of things will keep happening. But I've already given you an example of the ABC thing where I'm involved, that it is already happening. And my understanding is by the end of this year, the policy will be pronounced and it will be available. And by the start of the next next year, academic year, it will be available to the students, because there's no reason to delay that. And there is nothing which is going to be a hurdle, because it's a policy done by the educationists for the education and for the benefit of the students. And it's giving more freedom. If you don't want freedom, you can still remain in the conventional system, which is prevailing. So in that sense, this policy will be implemented faster. But then the regulatory framework thing obviously will take time, dismantling certain structures which were there for 50, 60 years, reassigning, relocating, if it was divided horizontally earlier, now vertically or mixed, probably will take certain time. We need not worry. Most of the common things will come by start of the next academic year, is my take. For example, multidisciplinarity. Who could have stopped? I have implemented it in a big way in my own institution. I can give you examples outside, not here, because it was rather critical. But it is up to us. Neither is UGC going to stop it, or nor it's going to say that you per force do it. It's up to us. The same way, various other factors of multiple entry, multiple exit, various other factors of research or whatever it is there, or 3 or 4 year, can easily be built by us as long as we have accepted the policy fully. And as students are taking advantage of that, then obviously there will be more excitement to do it and take it forward. So people should not have much apprehension on implementation of this policy, purely because the second thing which is helping it is the technology. Earlier, the same virtual university concept was attempted by some of us. I was one amongst them, which who started this in 2010 in IIT Madras, let me tell you. And we failed because we didn't have the wherewithal for that. We didn't have the enough support systems for that, but now it is there. So technology is going to expedite everything which we want to expedite, multiply everything which we want to do, make it transparent as we want to do. And as I was saying, we want speed, diversity, and efficiency. Technology comes in a very, very big way in all these parameters. And therefore, I'm going to see, I'm expecting the implementation to be a very fast one in this case.
People want also know the challenges and opportunities in implementation of this. So, Dr. Rai, can you share some challenges and opportunities?
Yeah, the opportunities, of course, are galore, as the NEP has spelled out, because now the canvas has become vast. But I think the few of the things which are challenges I am seeing is, one is to create the requisite the management system. One has to, this NEP is a very ambitious project, and therefore, like any other project, one has to do an excellent planning. A good leadership and managerial prowess would be needed if we want to, as Dr. Sancheti said, that this can happen fast. It can happen fast if we do this, we approach this problem with a proper governance and management angle. So there will be massive planning that would be needed as to who will do what and at what we have to prioritize and things like that, and monitor it and affect it, as we have given ourselves some targets for the first year, for first 6 months, and for this coming month, etc., and so on and so forth. So I think this has to be planned and managed well, is number one. Number two is creating the requisite infrastructures, which is technology, as Dr. Sancheti said, that today we cannot do without technology, So, okay, we could stem the tide of Corona with Zoom and Microsoft Team and all that, but no, that's not the end of it all. We will have to have proper infrastructure in place. These investments in technology are important. Rather than creating buildings, create technology, because it is the technology which will take us far. And you do it in a collaborative manner. Technology, the good part is it can happen fast, as Dr. Sancheti said. Speed, diversity, it can be shared. I mean, I have developed an app, it can be shared. I have developed a system, it can be shared. So beautiful part about the technology is that. So I think next is to create the right kind of technology infrastructure. The investments have to be made in it. If the ambition is high, nothing will come without proper investments. So I think people have to make an investment. Time is now. Okay, we are constrained. There, the whole nation, the whole society is going through financial crunches. But it is about this time when we, so one is to make the investments in the right kind of infrastructure. And the second one is very quickly, we have to prepare the faculty, creativity, critical thinking, entrepreneurship, or all these kind of soft skills. Where are the faculty? We have actually, as a nation, got driven towards engineering, and technology and sciences and things like that. If you are an intelligent student, you will do engineering. Not so, you will do sciences. Otherwise, finally, you will do arts and things like that. Now, that mindset has to change. So with that, what has happened is, how many people can teach maths well? How many people can teach languages well? How many people can teach these arts and crafts well? Because these were looked down upon. I think as a nation and society, we have to give the due importance and create the faculty for all these kind of soft skills that NEP is providing. I think that is the another implementation challenge that we need to do. The opportunity is, the good news is that there are enough brain reserve in the country to, because ours is a nation of Vedas, ours is a nation of art and culture. It's just that we need to focus on these particular areas, and definitely will come out. So infrastructure and faculty and backed by sound management practices, what I'm suggesting.
Can I add to that?
Yes,
Yep.
yes. Lily.
And I'm just going to double reinforce what you're saying about faculty, because for me, that is the number one most important thing. Faculty development, and also their well-being, meaning it's a huge change for faculty.
Yeah.
I also think, to go back to the same point, is that it cannot be somebody else's responsibility. As faculty members, it is each one of our own individual, or each faculty member's responsibility also to be open, to be willing to change, and also look, there are so many courses available where you can upskill yourself. There are so many trainings available, whether it's being done by, whether it's AIU or FICCI, and there are so many courses on Coursera and everywhere else. It is each one of our responsibility to also be accountable for the changes that are happening in the world. If you want to be a teacher of tomorrow, then I think it's important not just to wait for the institute to help, and of course the institute has to help, but everybody has to make that little bit of change in their mind, that I am going to be able to change, and I do want to learn new things. I am going to at least read about what is design thinking. I am going to look and see where there is a course on how to be an online teacher, and not just sit and wait for it to happen.
Thanks, Nandita. There is a lot of question on internationalization as well. So people want to know that how it's going to impact their education in abroad as well. So we also say that this education policy is allowing foreign institutions to come and set up the campuses in India. So how is this entire scenario is going to impact studying abroad? Dr. Sancheti, this question is to you.
I think competition will breed quality, that's for sure, that without that one would not survive. So I think all those partnerships or their solo existence in India, the foreign institutions' presence in India, is all going to work well. They will be a catalyst as far as our quality is concerned and diversity is concerned. They will bring a lot of diverse courses, and therefore others will also have to learn from them, follow them, or maybe be taking them upfront by doing it themselves before they do it. So there is I think, positivity about that. The other thing is, a lot of people quote those figures, how many lakh students will go abroad and how much of money is being pumped out of India and how many programs and institutions it can drive if we take care of all that. I think that's a right point. Imagine, and I've met such students, not now, 20 years back, 10 years back, that if they can do 2 years here And by the way, Indian undergraduate programs are sought after everywhere in the world. Out of 4 years, if they can spend 2 years close to their home, learn more about their society and need of the country, be with their family and friends, do it in a very competitive way as India is compared to the Western world. And then after third year or fourth year, if they go outside and do 1 year and gain the experience of that place, I think they will save the cost and there'll be a lot of win-win for the entire family. So I think these positives are there. We should not have kind of stopped it earlier, like we have benefited when we opened up our economy in 1992. For whatever reasons those were, we opened it up and then we have been benefited in terms of growth and various other things. I think this is an opening up of the same nature, in my opinion. And if used purposefully and properly, we don't become the agents and shops of those institutions, is what we need to take care. We as an autonomous setup will have to understand what they are giving and what they are taking. And if we control all that, I think internationalization is a very positive thing. Internationalization is positive because the true education happens in a diverse situation, diverse conditions, diverse applications also of the same education. I give you an example of London Business School. Out of 400 odd students they have, they'll probably have 100 odd countries represented in 400 students. Any group they make, by rule, there is a requirement that no two people of the same country can be in the group. And that is the kind of requirements they put when they try to push forward in terms of the new education or quality education. I think that will become a reality in our case also. I'm not really a big fan that I want people from US or UK. I'm not saying that. As it is, India is very diverse. But then we should not, by geographical boundaries, say he is allowed and he is not allowed. That should not happen. I think that is what I would mean by internationalization. It will be good, but there is one condition. The internationalization should happen from the top. Our top institution should open the gates for them. They've been very, very uncomfortable with that. Let me tell you, they've been saying, no, we are happy with what we are doing in India. We get the best students, so we are fine. If you don't give your best to the rest of the world the world will also not accept you. And that is the bottleneck right now in the internationalization.
Thank you. Thank you. There's one question, Sunil Rai. So I'd like you to take this. Will the entrance examination like NEET, JEE, CET will be redundant?
Not really, but I think the formats should change, the contents of these examinations should change. Increasingly, I think when one will have to move towards examination system, which is checking as to how well you can learn anything and everything, rather than in a straight-jacketed manner. After all, the experiments about, for example, what happens with GMAT and GRE, it's not any subject-centric. It is not focused on physics or this one, you know. So I think these examinations gradually, see, as Dr. Sancheti mentioned, that this is an evolutionary process. As a first step, what government has done is, except for Bar Council and MCI, everybody has come in one fold. So that is itself is kind of indicating that we will have kind of an education system, because it's very important that we have the examination systems which are actually checking out about the ability of the person, about what the person can learn rather than what that person knows. So, you know, there used to be a nice setup called National Science Talent Search Examinations. You know, this used to happen when I was growing up. I'm not too sure whether it still continues in the same spirit.
Yeah.
Now, that National Science Talent Examination was not trying to check whether I knew physics, chemistry, maths, biology, or the word science, but it was basically, do I have that reasoning in my ability in myself? So these, if we are trying to make the education, as Dr. Sancheti mentioned, that there is a movement possible, 360 degrees, you know, I can start with engineering and end up being a commerce student, because then I discovered that, oh, I am not meant for engineering. And this is what the NEP is allowing. So when this is the thing you are guaranteeing in NEP, then how can you check the person only for one kind of a skill? And therefore, these will have to change their formats. And I would like to think that if we have got an integrative NEP, the examination should be also integrated. Firstly, I hate to actually call these things examinations, you know. And there should be, we will have to, as educators, find out innovative methods. And this is the land at Nalanda and Takshila, I'm given to understand. There used to be Dwarpals who used to go and check you, which Dwarpals was a combination of various Pandits who will check whether this guy can learn astronomy or this guy can learn Sanskrit or Vedas or anthropology or what. So I think these examinations will take change, but it's an evolutionary process. It will take some time before these things can get dissolved and get aligned with the real spirit of NEP, is what is my take.
Thank you, Dr. Ram. There is one interesting question from parents. Nandita, this is to you. So the parents want to know what approaches we need to take to guide our students to help them in future post their school. So parents want to know what is the approach they need to take, how they need to be prepared themselves in helping the kids.
All right, I think that is really amazing, and possibly all of us as parents struggle with this. But if we want to have young people who have the ability to make these kind of choices, I think right from the start, we need our children to know and understand themselves, to be confident in themselves, to be agile and open. So having conversations with your children, giving them confidence that they should do what they want to do, not forcing everybody to do engineering or medicine because that's what the entire family says. So I think if your child can understand what their strengths are, and strengths are more important than weaknesses, and where they want to go with that strength, that will help them create a vision for themselves. And that is something that's really important today, because there is so much of stress and so much of despondency around. But those students who have that vision that this is what I want to become, this is where I think I can go, nothing can really stop them. And that is the kind of student who will flourish in the kind of universities that we've been talking about, where you choose which part of the school of life you want to be, or what are the subjects you want to take. For that, you have to have that confidence. So parents, I know it's difficult for you also. It's difficult for all of us parents, but have confidence in the youth. The youth today are amazing. They have really strong points of view. They are so much more agile than we ever were. And if we just give them that opportunity to know themselves and do well, I'm sure that everything will be.
Thanks, Nandita. The questions are pouring in, but I'll make sure that all your questions are answered by the Mindler team. At the same time, I'd like to hard stop here. I know that you all people come in your busy schedule to address this. And on this note, I would like to acknowledge Mindler's effort in pulling in an important discussion for parents and educators and students to know about the impact of this new education policy in higher education. This whole discussion was more like I was a student to understand from all these stalwarts and educationists, I would call you are nation builders. Thanks for your time, and I really appreciate. And I was a really. This is my first time experience of having a most engaging conversation with you people. And Parikshit, over to you.
I have two questions from our esteemed panelists, please.
Yes.
Because I was reading a lot of questions from in the Q&A. Sir, if you could help us, Nandita, Dr. Rai, Professor Sancheti, if you could just give us an idea. Is there anything special with NEP for people with special abilities or disabilities? Is there anything being done in the NEP in the higher education? If anyone, because I was trying to read the document. If there is, yeah, Senthil, would you like to say something?
Yeah, I would start. Then obviously there are other panelists who will add more to this. First of all, this NEP is focused on more inclusive in nature. To me, inclusive is they are highly talking about how to bring in even differently abled people to the part of this ecosystem. So even they went to an extent of talking about bringing in the learning and tools for them to include in this ecosystem as well. That's very important. And secondly, also they're talking about various regional languages the content and courses are going to be, number one. And differently abled is highly considered, but we need to wait for the detail to come in. But there is a vision of thought in including them and creating the tools and mechanism for them to include in this education system as well.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, can I add to this? For differently abled, if I have to think of that, there are two major parameters to help them. Number one, give them the flexibility of time, space, place, whatever that may be, combinations, what they can do within engineering, within medical, within any design course, whatever. One is that. So we are giving that in the NEP. And the second is the use of technology. Technology helps the people with different abilities in a very, very big way. I can operate my computer with my feet and all that. I can drive my car. All these are nothing but the technology attachments which are there. Both are, one is of course an NEP driven, another one is just an evolution and more acceptance through NEP technology. And therefore, whether government gives any specific directives or not, it is up to us that we can embed them in all the solutions which we have today. I would, for example, give examination on demand to all my differently abled people. Now, what can be more better thing for them that whenever they feel comfortable, they do it. So such things are possible through current mechanism under NEP with technology.
Thank you. So one last question, please, because I see a lot of almost 20 questions on this thread. If you could just throw some light. There is little confusion that is it going to be just like we have 10 plus 2 and then we move to college. So a lot of parents are asking, is it going to be 11 plus 4? I mean, I don't know why this confusion is there. Is it going to be you finish your 12th and then you go to college, or is it after 11th you go to college? I can see this 20 questions on that thread.
No, I think it is clearly spelled out as far as this is concerned. It's 5, 3, 3, 4. And this 5 also includes the preschool. In fact, the NEP goes very clear on that they are actually going to talk of early parenting, wherein the child is prepared before even the child comes to the school. So 5 is, first 5 years is taken as only foundation building exercise.
Okay.
And then build on that. So it's clearly, gradually move the child from that very primary education to the middle, where the person is now kind of understanding as to what he or she can actually do. And then there is a flexibility given right at the middle stage, as it is to be called. In that next 3 year stage is a total flexibility which is given, where I can decide to choose as to what are the kind of subjects I'll do. So gradually, this scheme of 5, 3, 3, 4 is not numbers. It's a philosophy. It is what, right? And the policy is very clear about starting from early parenting. The parents actually will be given training as to how do you, what Nandita was talking about. Please encourage your child to do what the child wants to do and what the child feels that this child can contribute. The biggest roadblock in this I have found is the parents themselves, who would actually try and force things on the children. So I think this 5, 3, 3, 4, so it is not to be considered as 10 plus 2, 11. That way, yes, it's primary, middle, secondary, and college. That's how the education was even before this 10 plus 2 and all was understood. There used to be middle, metric, inter, and college. So that's how our parents have come up, and that's how this education system has evolved. So rather than going for the numbers, the emphasis is on gradually move the child into a frame of learning to build his or her own life, and with the kind of flexibility as Dr. Sancheti mentioned. So that's what is my take. So parents, please change your own mindset, and thank God that you have got the children that you have got. Allow them to flourish.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much, Professor Sancheti, Dr. Rai, Ms. Nandita, Senthil. It's been brilliant, and I can't thank you enough. We are deeply indebted for you helping us, our educators, because you see, it's like COVID anyway has been what to say, and now suddenly NEP came into being, and our educators were trying to tell us, Minda, please get. And I must thank Senthil for helping us. A very dear friend, Senthil and I go back about 17 years. And Senthil, thank you so much for bringing an esteemed panel with us.
Thank you.
Right?
Great.
Special
Thank you.
thanks
Thank
to the
you for
entire
it.
panel.
Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
Dr. Sancheti. Thank you, Dr. Rai. Thank you, Nandita, for sparing your time. And this is truly engaging. And I can see still messages coming by saying that excellent session, very informative. The credit goes to the panel members. Their insights, their experience are being showered today.
And just last line, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to have the last word. We were supposed to finish at 6:30. It's about to be 7, and we still have close to 360 people still staying online with us, all thanks to a beautiful, matured, and insightful conversation that you have given us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks
Great.
for all the participants. Have a wonderful evening ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Namaskar. All the best. Thank you.
All of you stay safe. I was just waiting for my guests to go. Thank you. Bye-bye.